And thank you for tuning in with us today on Friday. We want to wish everyone a good Friday, and we have a great show for you today. And we hope you stick around and share with your family and friends, because here at the Veterans Radio Show, we bring heroes in action. So I'm your host, Shelly Harrison, and I'm a co-director with the National Veterans Chamber of Commerce, and very proud to serve with our team with Joe Molina, who is our executive director. And today on the radio show, we have Jimmy Odong, who is behind the scenes producing the show. And then I have my co-host, who you see when I'm not here, Dolly Rivera. So we definitely want to thank our team for always doing a great job of putting this production, out for all of you. And we want to make sure that you subscribe, that you share this. Ask your live questions, because we have these folks live and they're here to serve and answer your questions. So we want to thank all of our audience who's tuning in, who are watching, listening, wherever you are. And remember to hit that subscribe button, and also just follow us every Friday with our the great guests that we have on. And today we have an announcement for a new segment that we're going to be doing, and you get to meet the host of this segment, and his name is Gary Rohmann, and it's going to be a military transition segment, and it's going to be focused on transitioning to civilian work life. And he is coming live to us from a training center at Camp Pendleton. So, Gary, I want to welcome you onto the show. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. It's outstanding to be here. Thank you.
Oh, we're so happy to have you. And I can't wait, because we're going to have a new segment that's going to be added to the radio show. And what I would love for you to do is tell us a little bit about what are the greatest challenges experienced by transitioning veterans?
Okay. Well, there are many.
Yeah.
And I've been working in this you might say, in this area for the last 7 years. So I do transition workshops throughout the country, mainly in California. So I spend 3 days with veterans that are transitioning out and starting their new career as a civilian.
Oh,
And so during that 7-year period, I've had over 4,000 vets go through my classes. So I've
wow. That's incredible.
seen a lot of, things they come in with, they're anxious. Some of them are excited about their new future. Some of them have been in the military 4 years. Some of them have been in the military over 20 years. So each age group, or each, their challenges are many, because remember, many of these veterans have served in different types of locations. Some of them have deployed several times. And so they're in their last segment, like 6 months before getting out, and they have so many things to do. And one, they got to plan for their family. They got to find out where they're going to relocate. And most importantly, they got to determine what their next career is.
Exactly. And
so, we always ask ourselves, what am I going to do when I grow up? So again, they're asking that very similar question. But you know what? They have more skills than they realize to be successful in the civilian environment. And we just got to identify those skills, translate those skills, and so we can promote ourselves in a very good resume and in the interview. So it's truly a privilege to be around the veterans that as they go through these challenges.
Yeah, well, we appreciate that you're doing this work and serving and, really helping our veterans, because, getting back into civilian life, as we all know, sometimes it can be a challenge, for some of our veterans. Tell us, I know we have a few questions that we're going to be asking you, but I would love to find out, how did you get involved in this, Gary, just to, have this compassion? I mean, I know why the compassion, obviously, because it's for military vets, but really, what inspires you to do this?
Well, my dad was in the military. He was in the Air Force 23 years. And the foundation of my life was laid through his service. I did not wear the uniform. I was growing up during the time of Vietnam and other types of conflict. I was in high school at the time, and I was scared to death, quite frankly, as a young kid. And so I was training. I was going to go to school and become in the ROTC program.
Hmm.
As I started my college, the war ended, and so then I changed my path, which and then I never really enlisted at that point on. But I'm a military brat, baby, and very
You are, and you're serving, you're doing something that's extraordinary for our veterans and a resource that, some of them may not know about. So, can you share with us how do our excuse me, how do our veterans find out?
what's say it again, please.
How do our veterans find out about your organization and how to get involved?
Well, one of the ways is my website, GaryRohmann.com. And I have a lot of information there. Obviously, we're going to be doing more work with the Veterans Chamber, offering some programs which will be announced in advance. But when I'm on the basis, I'm representing the Department of Labor. I'm an independent contractor. They've hired me, contracted with me to, in order to allow the veterans to complete their transition. So I work, in essence, you might say, for the Department of Labor.
Oh,
Um,
I see.
and so all veterans have to go through these courses. Now it's a
Mhm.
requirement. So in essence, I got a captive audience, but you know what? I don't look at it that way. Yes, they got to go through this. They got to check the box, and so they can separate. But I feel like when they come into my workshop specifically, I can help them determine, in many ways, their next destiny. They don't know sometimes what kind
Mm.
of career they want. They have no idea.
Yeah.
And it's all right. You know, many people are in that situation. Look at our economy right now. Millions have not
Mm.
gone back to work. Why? Because
Mm.
they didn't like their jobs and a lot of reasons. But I don't want, what I'm passionate about is making sure the veterans that I come across have a
Mhm.
better idea what their options are when they get out.
Yeah, that and gosh, that's a great resource. And I know you're coming to us today from a training center at Camp Pendleton, and you have some veterans who are waiting for you. And we definitely, want to make sure that we give you a shout out for all the support that you're giving our veterans. What Gary? What are the keys to a successful transition for veterans, just so they have an idea of what
Well,
that path might be?
well, there's several. Number one, they got to realize, sometimes they realize that my military background does not translate into civilian environment. Well, I disagree with that. In many cases, that are a better fit than even somebody newly graduated from college,
Yeah.
because they've experienced a lot of their skills over 4 to 20 years. Some of them, join around in
That's
high
right.
school and they have a 20-year career and they don't have a college diploma, but boy, can they get things done?
Mm,
And they have a lustrous number of skills. So I think that the first thing is understanding and embracing the fact that you have a lot of skills, which now lets you have a lot of choices when it comes to your career. And that's what I
yeah.
try to help them to, is to identify the career options. I think the other thing is is recognize that culture is going to change. And
Mhm.
they have a pretty good perception, but the culture will change. In the
Oh,
military, it's in some cases regimented, but at the same time, it's all about team, right? It's
it
all
it is. That's
and
so true.
and
Yeah.
and so the culture will change, and they got to be ready for that change. Not that it's going to be drastic necessarily, but they got to be ready for it and prepare
Yeah,
for it. And
most definitely.
the other thing I will say, and just to kind of sum this up, but 45% of veterans that have a full time job when they get out leave that job in the first year.
Mm,
45%. That was documented by the Chamber of Commerce Hire Heroes in
yeah.
2017. So what does
Yeah.
that mean? They leave in the first year. Well, a lot of them, the adjustment was greater than they expected, or
Mm,
they didn't like the job, or they accepted a job just to have a job. And
yeah.
then, and then they realized that we're worth more than what they were getting paid. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it comes down to, all right, really, that's why we got to make good decisions from the very beginning. And if you're not prepared, and, then unfortunately, we make decisions based upon emotion. And that's when we make mistakes.
That exactly. And that's true. time and time again. And I know we do have a question on LinkedIn, how to connect with the Veterans Chamber to access resources to help my family during transition.
Well, how do they access resources? Well, I mean, all they have to
Yeah,
do is reach out to me and I'll give them the resource, or I'll give
yeah,
them the links that they can use to get those resources. Um,
yeah.
Again, the department, you can go to the Department of Labor website, for example, look under
Mm.
Veterans Transition. The material that I use, you can download it. It's open to the public. And
Mm.
so it's a great resource. Does
That
that
is, yeah. And we have another question coming in from LinkedIn. Do I have to be active duty to participate?
Well, in the workshops that I'm doing now, yes, they're all active duty.
Hmm.
But there are other resources for those that are not in this currently in the service. They're called American Job Centers, and we have 2,500 of these throughout the country. And in California, in Encinitas, for example, where I live, there's about five. And so the
Mm,
American Job Centers are there to serve veterans, regardless of how long you've been out of the service. So
yeah.
they're a tremendous, they help you with a resume. They know the companies in
Mm.
the area. They can tell you what are network. So they're a wealth of information.
That, yes, that
American Job
definitely
Centers.
is. Yeah, and we'll make sure that that link is out there too, because I think that's important for veterans, especially with that percentage of 45%. That, I mean, that's a big number. When it comes
Yeah,
to our veterans who are trying to transition back into civilian life.
right.
Um, let's see. So another question that we have: why are veterans needed in U.S. corporations?
Wow. Let's look at this. Look what we're facing right now. Corporate America does not want to go back to work, or at least a good number. Leaders don't know how to lead remotely. The pandemic brought on a whole new awareness
It did.
what it of the value of work, the value of leadership, uh, and how to deal with the unexpected working remotely.
Yeah.
Veterans know how to perform in any type of environment. They do work remotely.
Yeah.
Leaders
They
lead
sure do.
remotely,
Yeah.
and they perform in all kinds of uncertain, high risk environments.
Mm.
So again, it's name at the end of the day, they find a way. And
Yeah.
I just believe that, you know, sometimes corporate America might say, maybe they're too rigid. They're in a
Mm.
very rigid environment.
Mm.
Less than 2% of our country is served. So very few have an understanding of the depth of talent that's available to them if they'll just take advantage of it. So
Absolutely.
I think, and the other thing if you really want to make a difference, I believe in our country and how we use our veteran talent is, have somebody that can help them. If you hire them, then acclimate to your company. It's a whole new
Yeah.
culture. Doesn't take much time, but at the same time, once you see what they can do and how they can perform, you'll be glad you invested. Because
Yeah.
again, the other thing, they've served under all types of leadership, good, bad.
Mhm.
They've learned a lot about what leadership is all about. They didn't get it from the book.
Yeah.
They got it from the field. They got it through experience, which really makes them better leaders.
Yeah. Well, and really when I think about it, I think, my gosh, they've been in the trenches. They've heard it all,
Yeah.
seen it all. Yeah. Yeah. And I know we only have about a minute left, Gary. What I would really like to find out is, number one, how do people reach you? And then we want to just make sure that people know that they're going to see you here once a month with me. You're going to be doing a segment, and I know that there's going to be more to come on that, and you'll be interviewing. Maybe give us an idea of how we can reach you, and then who you're going to have on the show, or
Well,
what types
I'm
of.
very excited about that. I just can't wait. But right
Yeah.
now, as we do this, we'll have again other contact ways to reach. But right now, number one, just go to my website, Gary Rohmann, ROHMANN.com, or go to LinkedIn. If you're on
Yeah.
LinkedIn, I'd love
Connect
to
with you on LinkedIn.
just search my name, Gary Rohmann, ROHMANN. We can connect
Yeah.
via that as well.
Yeah.
So Or finally, my email address is very easy, Gary Roman, Gary.Roman at Gmail.
Got to remember that dot. Yeah, very good. Very good. And then we look forward to seeing the guests that you have on the show with the segments that you're going to be doing and more to come on that. And, Gary, we want to thank you for serving our veterans and just being, just a beacon of light out there and making sure that our veterans have a pathway to success. We really appreciate that. And we'll be tuning in with you next month, probably, or the month after. I'm not sure when, but we will once we get that segment all set up and ready to go.
Sure.
So
Well,
thank you again for being on the show.
It's been an honor to be with you, and let's go hire some veterans, okay?
Yes, I agree. And you in the corporations.
That's right.
Fortune 500 companies.
Yeah. All right.
All right. Thanks so much, Gary.
Have
a great weekend and a happy Easter.
You too, ma'am. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. All right. And now we're back with our second segment of the Veterans Radio Show. And here today we have a wonderful couple that I recently met, Aaron and Alyana Elam. And I hope I pronounced it correctly. Aaron spent 12 years in the Air Force, and he is currently a paramedic firefighter. And then Alyana, will hear a little bit more about her in just a moment. I want to say a little bit about them or about their organization, First Serve Foundation. First Serve Foundation is a 501(c) nonprofit organization that provides holistic shared housing that prioritizes veterans, but is open to other marginalized groups, seniors, senior citizens, mothers with children, disabled individuals, and limited to fixed income justice challenged adults. So that's the group, and that are homeless, transitioning, or recovering at various stages of life. The foundation's home encourage holistic, physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual wellness through monthly group therapy and quarterly workshops such as financial planning and literacy, healthy diet and nutrition, art therapy, and prayer meditation. And First Serve Foundation has also partnered with many organizations to provide referrals for employment, food pantries, education, outpatient rehabilitation, mental health resources, and spiritual assistance. The First Serve Foundation currently operates 3 homes in California: a men's home in Moreno Valley, a women's home in Moreno Valley, and a women's home in Pomona, California. And they have housed approximately 50 adults and children since October of 21 to the present. So please help me welcome Aaron and Alyana Elam. Hello.
Hey,
how you doing? How are you both doing? And did I pronounce doing good? Did I pronounce the last name right?
Yes.
Elam. Okay, good. Woo, good. Oh my goodness. Well, welcome to the Veterans Radio Show. And, we definitely appreciate you both being here today. And Aaron, I know you're a paramedic firefighter, so we know that if you have to leave, we understand.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's talk about this. So Alyana, I know that initially, I think you started this foundation, or both of you started it together?
Both of us started it together. We founded the organization since my husband is currently a first responder and a service member. So we kind of pushed those two together and came up with First Serve Foundation. So we are a nonprofit. And previously, I worked in HR for almost 20 years.
Oh my goodness!
So so the skills of HR and all the employee relations and all that, running businesses. So it helped us all push it together and have a successful nonprofit. So yes.
Well, first and foremost, I want Aaron, I want to say thank you so much for your service. We salute you. We appreciate the time that you spent 12 years in the Air Force. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Yes. And I know, Alyana, you're part of it too. So thank you for, your support and being his champion in the military.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, let's talk a little bit about, I mean, when I was reading this about the nonprofit, and I've read through it a few times before we even came live, and I thought, oh my goodness, this is such an extraordinary, you know, I mean, just a list of services that you provide that I didn't even know about. And, I know you have a couple of different homes in Moreno Valley, one for women, one for men, and the one in Pomona. So, tell us about this. Tell us, kind of what it looks like in terms of how you receive the veterans into the program, and let's take it from that point of view.
Okay. Well, I'll start. So, a lot of the motivation of why we started these homes is I did come back from Afghanistan in 2011, and I do suffer from PTSD like a lot of veterans, and I put myself in AA, right? And so part of my story, even when I was younger, when I was 17, I was actually homeless in LA for a while.
Wow.
And so when we decided to kind of just branch out past our 9 to 5s, we got into real estate early 2019, and we thought, well, let's do real estate with a purpose and tie all of our story in together. So that's when we discovered shared housing. So shared housing allows you to do recovery homes. It allows you to maximize the benefit of, this housing market that we know is ridiculous right now, plus the homeless crisis. And then we have the opioid epidemic, plus all the addiction epidemic that we have in this country. Well, we found that this is a good solution, and a lot of the services that we found that they have for veterans, that a lot of veterans need to take advantage of. A lot of veterans fall through the cracks through the VA, and they're not able to get the services that they need, get the compensation that's deserved to them. So there's a lot of things there. But we wanted to be in a network of veterans that not only can find the services, but continue to serve while we're back from deployment and out of the military. And so, one of the motivations of a lot of veterans, they serve the country because they love this country, like I do. Right? But after your term is up and after you're out, there's still opportunities to serve. And so
just like Gary was saying in the previous interview.
Right. So here, even with PTSD, sometimes I feel like more at ease serving in a crisis. And I feel like this era that we're in, the atmosphere that we have with our country right now, is a perfect time for veterans to not only get some services, but right when you get a little bit stable, let's get back in that fight and keep serving.
That I love what you're doing. I mean, it's just remarkable. It really is. And knowing that you're both serving right now, dedicated to our veterans, and I would imagine, what you're doing. So the homes, let's just take one of the homes and kind of paint us a picture of what that looks like. What's going on in the house? How many people are there? What is the dynamic?
So our first home that we opened was our men's home. And from the outside, it looks like a typical single family home. So 4-bedroom, 2-bath home. And we have 2 beds in each room. And so we have space for 8 men total in the house. And so one of them is our house manager, and he just keeps track of what's happening in the house. Making sure that people keep the house very nice. So at any point, we could take visitors through the house and the house is spotless. It's very clean because we have a house manager. And so it's a very nice house. It's in a suburban neighborhood. So it's a safe place. A lot of the veterans that we have who have come through our homes, the first thing they say is, I feel safe. And we've had veterans literally break down in tears as we walk them through the house because it's a safe place. And so a lot of the veterans that we had, they were living in their car. They were living on the street. They came, a lot of them came through the VA, but it's a safe place. And we realized with the, once we started off providing housing, but we realized once you provide housing, a lot of people need those extra services. A lot of veterans come in, they might have VA compensation, but they don't have a job and they want to work. So then now it led to, okay, let's get some referrals for employment. So that could be added on that piece. And then maybe they need some food. So we work with sources like US Vets and Salvation Army, where they can go and get food, their local food pantry. And so then we also have mental health services with some of our other organizations who come in and they can provide virtual services. We also have a licensed therapist that comes in once a month and provides group therapy. So we realized there was, once you get that housing, that is like the foundation piece, but there's so many other layers that explain why a veteran or just anyone is homeless or why they're in the state they're in. So we kind of added on those extra services with the housing.
That is fantastic. And how long is a veteran able to stay in the house?
Yeah, so we kind of leave it up to them, right?
Yeah.
We do a small assessment when they enter the home, and we see what their short-term and long-term goals are, and we aim to transition them into permanent housing. But a lot of them like the structure, they like the rules of the house rules, and they like the camaraderie of being able to live with other people, and especially other vets. One of the things that I noticed that we did on purpose too is we wanted to not only do all veterans. And I thought it was important that we mixed our population with civilians so that it could help them transition more into civilian life, which I know that can become an issue. But that's pretty much the aim of the homes and how we've set it up.
Gosh. Yeah. And I mean, I could just imagine, the feeling when, anybody comes into that kind of an environment where, either coming from their car or off the streets or, and you experienced it firsthand, Aaron, like you mentioned, when you came out of the military. And I mean, it's important that our veterans and our seniors and, single moms and other groups of organizations and people where they have, these resources available.
Right.
And yeah. And are there things that you want being that we have this platform, what would you like to share with our audience that you feel is really important for them to know?
I think a lot of people, we're not the only organization out here. There's a lot of people who are running homes, they're running nonprofits, and who are, we're the first people that homeless people call. When we get calls every day of people who are on the street, not only do they not have housing, they don't have a job, they need food to eat, and we're like their first call. And so a lot of times when you're running a business, we don't always have that opportunity. If someone has no funding, no job, no nothing, it becomes a real challenge of figuring out how do we house that person. So it's donations to organizations like ours, donations to nonprofits, donations to, there's so many houses. It's so important for the community. We're serving the community. It's important for us to partner with the community to help the homeless. We all see them. We see the homeless when we drive on the freeway.
We do.
We see the homeless when we walk to our jobs. But what we want you all to know is the people that we serve, the biggest population, there's people who stand on the freeway with the signs, but there's millions of Americans who are invisible in society. They are invisible in society because they're housing insecure. They're not the people standing on the sign on the freeway with the sign. These are people who are living in their car and they go shower at LA Fitness or the gym and they go to work. These are people who have jobs. There are millions of Americans who have jobs, but they cannot afford an apartment.
Housing,
house. They don't have cars. Some of them don't have cars. They can't afford to live here, but they have a job. So they still try to make the best that they can, but they're invisible because they're not necessarily labeled as homeless.
Right.
So these are the people that end up coming to our homes because they can't afford to live by themselves. So then we create these homes to not only give them housing and wraparound services, but they get family and a community that a lot of them don't have.
Gosh, that is phenomenal. I mean, what you're both doing and the dedication and also, Aaron serving, we definitely want to, make sure people know how to reach you because we're coming to the end of the program. How can people reach your or both of you or your organization?
Good.
So we have a website, firstservefoundation.org, and make sure to take the E off the serve. So it's there, firstservefoundation.org. You can also catch us at firstservefoundation@gmail.com. So pretty simple. We are First Serve Foundation. You can find us on the internet, find us on the web, send us an email. If you want to partner with us in housing people, if you want to donate, we are here. We got our donation button on our website.
Well, and how timely, because somebody just came in with a question. How can I start a home like yours?
Well, the unique thing about us is we are a nonprofit, but we do have a for-profit where we realize that these type of homes they need to pop up all over the country in every county. And one of the things we're just a couple. We're one small business, right? So we've had lots of friends and family that ask us, well, how do you get that started? How do you do that? Well, over the last year, we developed a course and we actually have students and we teach them how to open these homes.
How
So
to do
it's a
it.
shameless self plug, but I mean, the need is there.
No,
and
that's
we
good
need to
though.
get it
Yeah.
out. Yes. So we are educators on how to open these type of homes. And if you guys follow the links to the contacts, you guys can reach out to us and we can give you more information about that. But that's one of the things that we knew early on, that the response that we got from so many organizations, friends, family, different people, churches, different organizations, they all want to know, well, how can we get in there and help? And we're all about, hey, we got to share this burden. Let's do this together. And we can show you guys how to open out. The good thing about it is you'll be doing so much good for society, but it's also a lucrative entrepreneurial
opportunity.
Yes.
Right.
But it feels good on the soul, I'm sure.
Oh, it does.
Yeah. I mean, to know that you're helping the masses, you know,
Right.
at least a small group right now in California, you know, but it could expand, like you said, and like, you know, there are organizations that do this in other places too. But we certainly, you know, appreciate putting the spotlight on both of you today for your extraordinary work, and, you know, keep it up. And we want to, you know, we're going to talk after the show because I have some ideas, and I'm sure Joe does too, our executive director. But we want to thank you both for being on the show. And
thank you for having us. We appreciate it.
Thank you. This was fun, and we'll have to do this again.
Yes, appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you for the questions, those on the chat room. Thank you.
Oh, most definitely. Well, thank you so much for being on the show, both of you, Alyana and Aaron, and have a wonderful Easter. It's Easter weekend, and we want to make sure that you guys are safe. And again, you know, we appreciate being on the show. Thank you.
Thank you. See you.
Thank you. All right. Well, here we are to the end of the show. We want to make sure we had some great questions coming in today. We had our new, we're going to have a new host on. You met him in the very beginning, Gary Rohmann, and he'll be heading up a segment that's going to be coming soon. And we also met with Alyana and Aaron Elam, who are running a great organization. So go back, watch the beginning of the show if you're just catching this now. But remember to subscribe. Have a wonderful weekend and Good Friday to everybody, and happy Easter. We'll see you next time.